Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Bear Down Ballers here on the Field of 68. I'm Ryan Wall. I'm joined, as always, by Jordan Pollock. Before we get into all the action this past weekend, and that, as we know, didn't play out great for Arizona. They lost the nail biters 73-70 to Wazoo, and they've lost 4 out of the last 8. But before we get into that, Jordan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm traveling back home to Louisiana, and I'm still in Texas after trying to get out there for like 2 days. The weather's been terrible. Roads have been super icy. It'll be warmer tomorrow, so I'll hopefully get back to Louisiana tomorrow. But stay safe. There's some crazy weather around the country right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Normally, back where I'm at right now on the East Coast, the weather's horrible, but it seems like, in the West, in parts are pretty bad too. But Jordan, I wanted to get into this game because we'll get into bigger picture in just a couple minutes of Arizona losing 4 of 8, like I mentioned. But losing this game, once again, it's almost 10-point favorites heading in. They were 9.5-point favorites and they lost by 3 points. It was on the road, and just another horrible, just terrible shooting performance overall by this team. They shot it just under 35% from the field, 29% from three, 61% from the free throw line. And that had Arizona's two of our members of Arizona's backcourt, Kylan Boswell and Pella Larson, combining to shoot 4 for 15 from the field. Boswell had 0 points, and Pella and Kylan had 6 fouls that were huge that took him out of a lot of this game. Just, I wanted to get your thoughts on this game as a whole and what you think just didn't go right here.
Yeah, I've talked about it in recent podcasts that we've done. I think the big issue is like this team feeds off of energy and motivation, and when you're playing a team that's below 500 in the conference, and you're the only one that's ranked, and you're favored by double digits, and the arena is like not even full. You probably have a little bit more fans than even they do, but it's still less than 50% capacity. It's just hard for this team to get up for games that don't have national buzz
Mm-hmm.
in a sense. Like maybe even they hate the fact that these games are on Pac-12 network as much as I do because their families probably can't watch. But it's it's an issue. It's a really big issue that this team just apparently isn't motivated enough for these games. What did you think? What did you take away from the game?
Yeah, I totally agree. It doesn't seem like they're motivated, and it's kind of a thing that I keep saying in all these road games is that they just come out with a lack of energy and a lack of want and will to win the game. When they come out, it always seems like the other team wants it more from the gate. And that's a major problem. And Jordan, for me, it just I don't remember seeing a team that, at home looks like maybe the best team in the country one night, and then when they go on the road, it's where they look like they're maybe not even a top 20 team that night
Yeah,
in some of
for
these
sure.
games. It's really concerning because as we know, as the season goes on and the games get bigger, you're gonna have to win these conference games and later in tournaments when they're in Vegas for Pac-12 tournament and then March Madness hopefully down the line, and Arizona falling to 3-2 in this conference that we always say and we keep saying that this conference isn't very good, and to be 3-2 it's flat out embarrassing, Jordan.
Yeah.
It really is just horrible, and it's a terrible job being done not only by the players, the coaching staff, and everyone involved. This needs to be better, and for a team that started the year that won 8 in a row and beat Michigan State and beat Duke, and then to lose 4 out of 8, like I said. And people like to say when they lost 2 out of 3, when they lost to FAU and Purdue, people are like, oh, they lost to top teams. As we know, FAU has dropped a couple since then. Purdue still looks unbelievable, so that's not a horrible loss. But they're now losing. They're not losing to ranked teams. They're losing to teams, some of the teams that are, like Stanford, under 500 teams, teams that are, probably not even top 70 teams ish. So it's really just, I can't really find the words, because they need somebody to step up more often, and somebody not named Caleb Love, because he still had 28 points in this game, 8 rebounds,
Yeah.
3 assists. He consistently shows up. It's always, who else is going to produce? Because like Jordan, a couple of days ago in our last episode, we were raving 5 guys in double digits. This game, 2 guys in double digits, and only one guy that had over 15 points. It's horrible, and everybody just needs to play better. This is just not acceptable. When you're Arizona basketball, you were the number one team in the country just a couple weeks ago. It's not acceptable.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing that I kind of pull from this game is this is really the first loss that they've had where the other team particularly like didn't shoot well. 30% from three, 46% from the field. Like I guess they had 3 guys in double digits, but I, yeah, it's definitely this game specifically is definitely has a different asterisk than the other losses they've had, because the other ones we point to, okay, like Arizona still has beaten themselves, but this guy and this guy had a career night. This guy just couldn't miss. This guy made every single play that he never makes any other night, and this one's completely different. As much
Hmm.
as us and even the national media talks about how many NBA guys are on this team, like Caleb Love and Pele Larson. That's kind of ironic. I think this right now they kind of look in NBA comparison, they kind of look like a play-in team. Like
100%.
especially in the West, where you have right now, I think the Lakers and the Suns are in the play-in contention, but even they've had injuries. But it's like they're healthy, they can beat anybody, and then sometimes they'll just lose to nobody, and it's like, what are we doing here? So uh,
Yeah, I
it
agree.
it's yeah, it's just head scratching some of these games, and especially the way they're losing and just beating themselves,
Yeah,
missing layups, taking bad shots.
Yeah, I think this is a result of something we kind of gave credit to Arizona earlier in the season, is that they have so many guys that can contribute. That's also, we talked about before, that some of the guys are a little too passive a lot. They want to pass it too much. They want to get others involved. They don't want to find their own spot. And that's when you have these matchups and you need someone to make a shot, and you have guys that Caleb Love did play well, but he still didn't shoot it well, statistically. And Love
He looked like
loves it.
the old North
Yeah,
Carolina Caleb
yeah,
Love that we
yeah,
know.
yeah.
He's basically kept us from getting blown out.
Love, Larson, and Boswell. They shot it 14 for 40 from the field. That's just not acceptable. I know Love had 28 points, but if those guys, would constantly saying it, if those guys don't produce, this team's they're only going to go as far as those guys take them, and you got to play better. And it's just, I don't know what's going to change here, because it seems like every game we harp on this, and every game, it seems like the coaching staff, Lloyd, is aggravated, and nothing seems to change. And the games are only going to get tougher. They have some more very tough conference games coming up later in the season. They have to go to Colorado. They got to go to Utah. They got to go to Arizona State. They still got to go to USC and UCLA to
Yep.
close the year, which they're not, where they're playing them this week. We'll get to that in a little bit, but there's still tough matchups on the road. So I'm very concerned by this team, because I know it's a long season, and it matters what you do early in the season, but it's better to have success later on. And it just seems like Arizona, they don't have enough opponents to have big victories, marquee wins against. And it seems like they're just not playing their best basketball now. And I think everyone needs to be accountable, and I think that starts with Kylan Boswell. I've raved about him earlier in the season. He had some great games, then he had a rough stretch, had a bounce back game, and then if he's playing like this, he had 0 points, 0 assists. I know he only played 25 minutes, but that's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
This team's not going to succeed if he plays like that.
Yeah. One of my favorite tweets I saw this game is Kevin Boswell had a Tony Snell game. We're throwing in NBA comparisons again. Tony Snell, I think it was when he was
I
with
remember that.
Chicago.
Hmm.
He played like 25 minutes, zeros on the box score in the stat book. And that's what Boswell kind of did.
The only two
Outside of two
numbers,
personal fouls
yeah, at a turnover, which
and a turnover,
so
which
he had zeros, and in the negative categories, he had a couple each. And
yeah,
also, not just him, but the whole team, 18 personal fouls for this
yeah.
game. It's really just, it's hard to win when, you're just kind of stabbing yourself in the back. Who else Jordan, in this game, did you want to see more from?
I want to see more from Bala, especially from where he was coming from last year and kind of the breakout season he had last year. Still in Tubelis' shadow, but he was still getting preseason Pac-12 nods this year for
Hmm.
being a first teamer and 11 points. I've loved how he's been on the glass, and 14 rebounds is great. I think that should be the normal and the regular for him. He's done a really good job battling down low on the glass, but we I think we still need a little bit more urgency from him of getting offensive rebounds and going straight back up and
I
using
agree.
his physicality and imposing on defenders, which we see glimpses of every here and now of just the hard dunks that he's able to have on littler centers.
Yeah.
And I think at least this year, I think we're still waiting for a game where he kind of just dominates on the inside and there's nothing that the other team can really do about
Yeah, to me, the two things that I thought he has shown improvement earlier in the season, but as of
it.
late, he hasn't. His efficiency and just his touch slash shooting from the free throw line, and just 4 for 11 from the field, especially when a lot of those were closer to the basket. That
Mm-hmm.
has to be better. It just that's not good enough. That's including the foul shots. That's 10 missed buckets. When you're foul line in, that just has to be better. He did, like you mentioned, he had a double double. He wasn't the main problem, I wouldn't say, on this team, because in reality, that performance, 11 and 14 rebounds, that's about, if the other guys who are counted on to score the ball succeed in that game, then Arizona should be good. It's just like I mentioned, the three lead guards, those guys are the ones that are counted on the score, really. And it seems like Boswell and Larson, have those two especially, have had just too much of a streaky season for this team
Yeah.
to succeed at the level that we thought they could. And I'm not saying that Arizona can't get back there and back to a team that looks like they can make the Final Four, because I still think they could and they can. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, like I said, and like we keep mentioning, in a conference that's not very good, you're just a little over 500, 5 games in. It's not really a good look.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 each and every week of the college basketball season. We have a special offer that will be available starting on Tuesday, January 9th, and running through Monday, February 12th, the morning after Super Bowl 58. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, in honor of the big game, you can use the bonus code FIELD158 and you'll get $158 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD158. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. you'll receive $158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD158 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create separate accounts in each state. It's easy, it's simple, it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the heart of the college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odd boosts, and my favorite, a nice juicy parlay boost. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Field 158.
Yeah, and at this point, like I'm in Big 12 country right now, and over the weekend I was watching a lot of Big 12 games. That conference is gonna get like 80% of its teams into the tournament.
Loaded every year, loaded.
And the Big Ten's gonna have at least 3 automatic bids with Purdue, Illinois, and Wisconsin. The way those 3 clubs are playing right now, the Big East is gonna pull out a lot of good ball clubs. UConn's #1 right now. Marquette's still good. Providence has looked pretty dang good lately. Creighton's still good.
Yeah, their days of an automatic bid are out the window after this year.
Yeah.
Of a basic automatic bid.
Yeah, exactly. For the conference. And so right now you're kind of getting to the point where it's, especially with how they're falling in the conference, like I would not, if they drop another game, I would not be surprised if they drop into the 20 to 25 range of the AP poll. But I think one way to look at the glass half full, which I feel like I can do somewhat, is over the last 2 years of the Tommy Lloyd era, we've kind of had little bumps in the road through this season, not nearly what it's been this year, but play has been stagnant, pretty much like pretty high level throughout the entire season. And then the second the tournament happens, something happens and it goes down. As opposed to some programs, you look at, like, especially like I was talking about Wisconsin being my big thing. They've just done this since the start of the year. And if they keep doing that, by the time March comes, they're going to be at just a level that it's going to be really hard for teams to pull one over on them. And so I think we're starting a little lower right now, and I think there's a lot of room to go up to where the last 2 years, I don't think you could see really much room where the team could improve. And so by tournament time, whenever they saw something new, it was really hard for them to adjust, because it was like, okay, like we've been playing this specific way and it's been great for us all year. And now Houston's playing super aggressive against us, and Matherin can't score. So what are we gonna do? Oh, guys are missing threes. Oh, we can't play. Oh, Cubelis is having a bad game last year, and Princeton's throwing us off the 3-point line. There's no other ways we can score. And so I think that's a way to look at the glass half full. Is this team is seeing a bunch of different ways that they're losing, and I think if Tommy's the guy that we think he is, he's got a great chance to just continue to gain experience, especially with this team. There's still transfers on this roster that are playing huge roles with guys that they've been playing together with for 3 months. And so there's still a lot of room for them to improve, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I totally agree with that. And there's a great chance of that. You know, we're overreacting a little bit at the start of this show, but yeah, Arizona, the Pac-12 still, and I still say this, it's not a very good conference, even though Arizona just, lost 2 out of the last 4 games, and they lost 2 of them on the road. It's concerning, but I still believe in Tommy. Like you mentioned, I still believe in him to lead this squad. It's just, the point is the last couple of years they would lose 1 and then they would bounce back.
Definitely.
This year, obviously, they haven't lost 4 in a row. They lost 4 out of the last 8. So they're still bouncing back. That's still containing, but they're bouncing back. And then next time they go on the road, they're right back to their old ways,
Yes.
So that's the only part to me that it's a little bit different here, Jordan. But I wanted to move on, Jordan, and talk about their next game. And good news for everybody, it's on ESPN and it's back at home at the McCall Center. It's tipping off at 8 p.m. local time, 10 p.m. on the East Coast. It's Arizona, who now, like you mentioned, they dropped in the rankings, ranked number 12, taking on an 8-9 USC Trojan team who recently just lost their best player, Isaiah Collier, one of the best rookies or freshmen, if not the best freshman in the entire country. Guy has looked like an absolute stud this year. So Arizona does come into this game minus 17.5, heavy favorite, but USC still has some playmakers. They still have veterans, and Boogie Ellis is still leading the show there. They have Bronny James starting, who has been up and down in his short college career at this point. They got Kobe Johnson returning. So they still have some depth, although they're missing their best player. I personally have a feeling it's going to be a little closer than 17.5. What's your first take on this game, Jordan?
Yeah, I would agree. I do think it'll be a little closer. And as much as we've been bagging on this Arizona team, Tommy still has yet to lose back-to-back games in his Arizona head coaching
Yep.
career. So I imagine they're going to win this game. They're going to feed off the energy that McHale gives them. They're going to feel more motivated. And right now they're, like I said, you use the NFL comparison. They're the Cowboys right now. They look like a completely
I
different
was
team in
thinking the same
McHale,
thing.
like a different team when they play in McHale versus when they play in a gym that's half full. So I imagine they're going to win, probably a little closer than 17. I would agree with you, especially with how underperforming USC has been this year compared to where you and the national media had put them preseason.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be a lot better this year. The recent injury to Collier doesn't help them, obviously, but you
Mm-hmm.
know, they've lost some games. They've lost some tough games. Lost to Long Beach State earlier in their year. Lost to both of the schools in Oregon, among others. So yeah, I thought this team was going to be better, but I also had a feeling that it would take a while for them to figure out the mix because they just have so many guards and so many playmakers on this team. Collier's out now, so Bronny gets more opportunities there to lead the show, but still, Boogie Ellis is averaging almost 19 a game. He's been fantastic, 45% from deep. He's one of the best guards in the conference. And then you got Kobe Johnson, who's a really good player, and they just have a lot of different guys. So I think they got to figure out their right mix. I'm gonna predict that Arizona wins this game by I'm gonna say they win this game by 12 points, so they don't cover, but they get back on track and they beat a team in USC, like I mentioned, who still has a lot of big names, a lot of talented players. And Jordan, this game's on ESPN, so Arizona has to bounce back in a big way. What's your prediction on this game, and how else do you think this one will play out?
Yeah, I think it'll be a classic bounce back game for Arizona. They'll probably have 3 or 4 guys in double figures. Like last week didn't happen at all. I'd say they'll win by 15 against SC.
Yeah, I really think we've said this before, but I really think it's just a testament to the how good McCall is as a crowd, and to me, it's one of the best crowds in all of college sports.
Yes.
Just when this team returns home, it's every single time the crowd shows up, they're ready and they're ready to go and lead and help with Arizona, getting a victory. So yeah, I think we both are on the same page. Hopefully, the streak doesn't get broken this time with Arizona losing two
Mm-hmm.
games in a row, the Tommy Lloyd era. But Jordan, before we go, do you have any other thoughts about this game, just overall in general, about how the basketball program is right now? And yeah.
It's as much as I've been on Twitter with Arizona fandom over the last 48, 68 hours, the basketball program, even though after a big loss like this, it's still in probably a better state than the majority of the athletic department is.
Yeah.
And I think talking about the Kale, I think that's all to Zona Zoo and the fan base. So especially from what we've seen this weekend, Wildcat Nation is definitely strong right now, and it's awesome to see how the fan base is kind of surrounded around just athletes as much as we're the elephant in the room with the football team with everything that's happened in the last weekend. It's
Yeah.
been cool to see the fans giving support and showing outrage where they think it's deserved.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. The basketball program has always been the rock for
Yes,
Arizona. That
for
the
sure.
football program's been up and down the last decade plus, and the basketball program most of the time is really solid, really stable, and just great team to watch. But I
Yeah.
wanted to thank everybody for tuning in, for watching, viewing, liking, and subscribing to today's episode of Bear Down Ballers. I'm Ryan Wall. He's Jordan Pollock. Follow us on X at Bear Down AZ Pod. Follow the Field of 68